There you go. So welcome everyone. There may be a few more people joining, but wanted to thank you for taking time today to attend this special workshop. As most of you know, we finished 1 week of the project for the Texas chapter, and we are in the second week now. So this is the time when we need to think about what do we know, what do we need to do with the data that we have collected so far in terms of analyzing it and exploring it. So we are very fortunate today to have Ramya Nagabhushan with us today. Ramya works for a startup in the front-end development team, and she's based out of London, UK, but currently she's in Bangalore visiting family. Ramya has extensive experience in front-end web development and data analysis, along with technical content writing. She's also a code mentor for beginners in the coding community and has contributed on the tech series with WWC on natural language processing and database series. And she volunteers there as a lead for the Python track. So if you're looking to contribute and enhance your related skills for tech-related workshops and webinars, feel free to contact her. We will post her information on the chat window after the presentation. So with that, I would like to hand it over to Ramya. So let's give a big round of applause, at least a silent applause. Thank you, Ramya.
Thank you, Kaushik, for this beautiful introduction, and hello, everyone. Today, we will be going through what is EDA, exploratory data analysis, and what it is and why it is. Let me share my screen. I'm unable to share the screen.
Can you please try now?
Yeah. Yeah. Here. Okay, today we are going through EDA with Python, that is exploratory data analysis. And what are the agenda? We will talk about EDA concepts and its implementation. And I will go through a couple of quizzes from today's workshop, and then question and answers you may have. Now, what are the libraries and installations we need? Pandas, NumPy, Seaborn, and Matplotlib and Plotly. They are basically data visualization tools. And also I will give the overview of Dash application and what it is and why, and its use cases. Next, I'm going to use today the IDE for code implementation is called a Jupyter Notebook. Now, how do we install these libraries, Python libraries? This is the statement: pip install pandas, NumPy, Seaborn, Matplotlib, Plotly Dash. You can install all these libraries in this single statement. Next, let's look at the scenario of today's code implementation. Imagine Google Play Store, they want to analyze their historical data to get to know some of their business insights to help them apply business decisions. That is, this is basically these data sets we available at Kaggle, and it is open source data set. So that I have taken today as an example. I will show you how the data set looks and how we import it from the Kaggle, those things. And now let's move on to the hands-on. Just this. Yeah. This is the Jupyter Notebook through which we are going to implement and talk about what is EDA and its concepts and its use cases and how to perform steps in exploratory data analysis. Data analysis. This is on the data set, as I mentioned, Google Play Store, available at Kaggle. Now, why are we doing this analysis? As I mentioned in the scenario, that could be one of the scenario. As an example, I chose this data set today, and it is a really good data set, one of the good data set I came across. It has multiple mixture of data types, and it's a really good exercise for you to learn as a beginner, or you want to enhance your skills in EDA. It's a very good data set. And what are the when you have a data set, what are you going to look at it? Say, what are the fields? What are the column names it has got? And what insight it is giving us? In this data set, we have names of mobile apps from Google Play Store, its categories, Android versions, rating, number of reviews, number of installs, size of the app, when it was last updated, and current version of that each app. What's been used for this analysis? I have used Python 3 and libraries such as Pandas, NumPy for the computations, and Matplotlib, Seaborn, and Plotly for data visualization. And what is EDA? EDA stands for Exploratory Data Analysis. Next, EDA agenda. I'm going to explain about concepts, tools, and its implementation. What exactly the data set and its brief, libraries used for EDA, and data preparation, cleaning, and pre-processing, data visualization, and inferences and summaries and add-ons that I'm going to show how to generate the report. That is very crucial when it comes to exploratory data analysis. You want to convey your insights or informations you have derived from EDA to the business team or your team members. It plays a vital role in EDA, and EDA itself is a prerequisite for any data science projects you come across. And now, what exactly is EDA? As you know, EDA stands for Exploratory Data Analysis, exploring and learning about data sets to be analyzed. In the data set steps, we are going to perform data gathering and collection and pre-processing, and making sure the data we are having their authentic resources, and checking against any missing values and feature selection and extraction, checking the data types of features, such as feature is nothing but fields or columns, and keeping the field names consistent. And based on the data set and what exactly the EDA steps you want to perform, data pre-processing steps will based on that. For example, you are using the data field, then you have to make sure that, okay, Pandas is choosing the data field to the date time type. You have to check that, okay, Pandas has taken each relevant data sets as a relevant data type. If, for example, you have some characters in the data field, in date field, but it takes it as object. In Pandas, object means it is string. So you need to convert that. I'm going to talk to you about that. Next, data sets will be available in CSV format or Excel formats that Pandas library allows you to read these file formats. Now we have 4 types of EDA, say descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, prescriptive. Each of these types depends on the context, and sometimes based on which data science project you're solving, each of these steps will be performed in a sequence. Today, I'm going to explain you about descriptive data analysis. And what is descriptive data analysis? It tells you in a high level, it tells you, okay, what has happened from the historical data. And then based on that, there will be diagnostic analysis. Say why something has happened based on this historical data, why some events have happened. And then from that, it would be passed on to predictive data analysis. Okay, it has been analyzed, it has been diagnosed why some events have been happened. So you can predict after building the prediction models, and you can predict, okay, what can happen. And prescriptive, what could be the action could be taken to achieve the goals. And now let's look at data set. From the Kaggle I mentioned here, this data set is available in CSV format. And this is the URL of the data set that I have stored in the variable. And tools we can use for exploratory data analysis are these programming languages, R and Python. And also using database, we can use MySQL or any SQL. Basically, MySQL we can use for data analysis, and GUI tools like Excel and Tableau and Power BI and Alteryx.
Hey, Ramya, I have a question. Will you be posting a link to this notebook after this?
Yeah, after this, I will put it in the Google Colab.
Perfect.
And I will pass that link on to you.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Next, we have got the data set now. What next? Let's install the required libraries. Open Datasets is one of the module which helps you to download the datasets from Kaggle. This I have already installed. So it shows me I have installed, and this is some deprecation information that you can ignore. That is for future releases. Once this is using Jupyter Notebook, this is how you can install any libraries. Next, I have installed another library called World Cloud. I will go through its use cases towards the end of the workshop. And then once you install the libraries, this is how you can say import data sets as OD. I have aliased this open data sets as OD, and say using this alias name, it provides the pre-built method called download and pass in the URL of the data set that I have stored in this variable. Here you can see here. And then these are other libraries which I have already installed, so I'm directly importing them. Pandas as PD and NumPy as NP, and other modules like standard module like OS to view the directories of the downloaded datasets. And these are the Seaborn, Matplotlib. These are the libraries for data visualization models. And these are the set of statements to configure the default settings. And this is for the Plotly, another library for interactive visualization. And if you want to know the version of any of the libraries you have installed, this is the syntax you can use. And using this module, you can view what are all the files downloaded from the URL. From the URL, it gets loaded onto this folder. You can see here when you view in this folder, it gets loaded. These are the 3 files it gets loaded. So those are those are 3 files displayed in array. And when you perform exploratory data analysis, that would help you to answer the questions. Say, in this use case, I'm going to answer questions like, okay, how many mobiles are hosted through Google Play Store? Which are the most used or downloaded apps? How many are free and paid apps? And what are the categories of mobile apps? Which is the most used Android version? Which are the apps that are installed more? And which are the paid apps and their prices? Once we know, okay, now we have got the data set and we have installed all the prerequisite libraries, what we need, and imported them. And we have the set of questions that we need to analyze from the data set and answer them for the next phase of the application or project. And now we are going to read the data set from the Kaggle downloaded. Using these read underscore CSV method, we can read the data from this CSV and store it in this data frame. That is Pandas data frame. Data frame is nothing but a table. And once you have stored the data from CSV file to this data frame, I want to know how many columns are and how many rows are there. This is the shape attribute you would use to know those values. This is these many rows and these many columns. And I want to view the sample of the data frame that I just downloaded from the data set. So this is how the data frame looks once you store it in Pandas data frame. And if you want to know, okay, I just want to know top 10 rows, you can use the head method and pass on the number of rows you want to view. And note that rows are indexed with 0. And if you want to know the last 5 rows, you would use the tail method. And I want to know data types of each field. Using this attribute, you can know. Use the data frame and say .d types. This is the attribute, and you will get, okay, each of these columns are its specific data type. And I want to know the summary statistics, basic statistics of the data sets. By default, this describe method provides the statistics for numerical values. And if you want these statistics for all the columns, including categorical and the numerical columns, you would pass all value to this parameter inside this describe method as shown in this statement. And now this is info method is another way of finding out the basic, you can say it as a metadata. How many columns are null columns and their counts and their database and their data types, and how many are float types and how many are object types. In Pandas, object means it's basically a string. And also it gives how many entries, that is how many rows. And you can get the count of number of columns, that is 13 columns. And to keep the column names consistent, I have renamed these columns to the lowercase. It's a good standard coding convention that gives you a lot of flexibility as you move on. And next, I want to have a gist of columns, basically. So I would use the columns attribute to know which are all the columns. Now I have renamed it. So you can use this attribute and know these are the columns. And also it ensures you that, okay, rename has been applied and it's executed. So this is how you check, okay, it has been completed. And you want to know the specific column name, you can pass in the index of that column. Say for app, column index is 0. As an example, I have passed 0 to the columns attribute. I will get the name of the column. And we have a column called genres, and it is similar to category. So it would add similar information. So I decided to drop that genres column. And using the drop method, you can remove the column by passing on to the parameter columns. And now we can check. You can pass in any number of rows you want to view. After I executed this statement, I wanted to ensure, okay, this column has been removed. So this is the result you would get. You can see the genres column has been removed. And now if you notice the last updated column, it's basically a date column, but it's been treated as, where is it, date column, last updated, it's been treated as object. If this column will be used, certainly it needs to be converted into datetime type. Next, we can move on to the data visualization. It is another technique to visualize the information in a graphical format. And this also plays a vital role in exploratory data analysis to convey the insights, what you have found from the exploratory data analysis. And eventually I will move on to, okay, what I want to answer from this analysis, from this data set by analyzing it. Now I want to know the categories from this data set. And also I want to know in this category, each category, how many apps are there. And I have arranged it in ascending order so that it would give me the topmost category with highest apps in it. For example, family, it has got 1,972 apps, and game category, it has got 1,144, tools, 843 apps, so on. Next, I would say, okay, I want to know the unique category names, means how many categories are present. You can do that for, okay, which are all the mobile categories in this data set. It would give you in a array. And how many categories I have. You can pass this variable to the length method that would give you the number of categories. So we have 34 categories in this data set. And I want to view, for example, view a specific row and delete it. I wanted to delete this row specifically because it doesn't add value to the data set, because it has got quite a lot thing. So it doesn't, there are certain types of scenarios where you have to clean the unwanted rows, and you can do that. So if there are things like NaN, they have to be treated, otherwise it plays a significant impact in the result. When you build machine learning or deep learning models, it really affects the results. So it is very essential to treat the missing values. And so using the drop method, I dropped this row. Now coming to this number of installs, another column. This has got, if you notice here, before I executed that, this has got comma and plus these symbols, but basically this is a numerical value. So I want to clean this column in terms of replacing comma with nothing, and I want to remove the plus sign. By executing this statement, I could remove those symbols from the numerical columns and convert this column into int type. Using the as type method, you can do that. Now I want to ensure that, okay, this has been converted into integer. Here, number of installs, this has been converted into integer. Earlier it was object. If you notice here, number of installs, this I have renamed into number of installs. It was object. Now it's been converted into integer 64. Next, I want to know the number of installs for each app on a category based. When you execute this, I grouped it by category and app, and I did the summary and number of installs. So I would get for each app the number of installs. And when you do the group by, whatever field names you pass in here, it will be treated as index. But I want these columns to be accessed for future executions. So I have reset the entire data frame by using a reset index method. After I did these modifications to the Play Store process DF data frame, I have stored that changed updated data frame in another data frame called appcat number of installs. It depends on your scenario. I basically did not wanted to modify this pre-processed data frame. For specific scenario, I saved that result into another data frame. And which are the top most installed apps and their categories. So you can sort by values, and you have to specify by which column you want to sort it. And I have shown ascending false. And again, I have done reset index. And here it shows, okay, from this category, Canva, this is the app, for example, and it has been, its number of installs is these many times. And for 3D color pixels from category art and design, and it's been installed for these many number of times. And this is another Plotly library for interactive data visualization. Say, for example, you can hover over on the each bar and it will give you okay, from the video players category, and the YouTube app has been installed 1 billion times, and things like that. And another app from video player category, Motorola Gallery, has been installed 100 million times. For each category you would get, I wanted to know, okay, for each category and for each app and number of installs. When you hover over here, you would get app wise and category wise and number of installs. This is the feature provided by Plotly library. And you will see the difference between Seaborn and Plotly library in a while. Which are the most used Android versions? For this preprocessed data frame, I passed in this series. Series is a column. And I took the value counts of each value of this column, basically a cell, and arranged it in a ascending order so that I would get the topmost value. So the Android version 4.1 and up, it was most used for the apps. 2,451 apps have been developed with the Android version 4.1 and up. And for 4.0.3, these many apps, and so on. And if number of installs can be converted in two ways. If you want the number of installs to be integer type, you can use the as type as I showed above. Otherwise, if you want the numerical columns, but it is basically object, but you want them in the float, then you can use this statement to_numeric method that by default that converts the number based columns to float. But if you want it to be integer, you can use as type method. And which are the apps that are not free, and arranging them in a descending order? I basically wanted to filter out the original data frame, which are apps that are not free, basically. So query method comes in very handy if you want to filter data frame or data set with a specific condition. So these are the rows it filters, which are not free, basically. These are all the paid apps. And next I wanted to know which is the highest paid apps. So these are the apps which are highest paid, and arranged it in a ascending order, so that I would get to know which are the apps which are topmost priced. These many apps are priced $9.99. And again, as I said, this is a query method. It comes in very handy to filter out the rows from the data sets and pass in the condition as a argument to this method. And this is the histogram library that is available from Matplotlib and Seaborn library. Both of the libraries provides histograms. Here I have used Matplotlib. Basically, histograms, they are another type of graph to represent information in a graphical format. This chart is used to assess the possible outcomes, such as probability distributions. It bins the related values into one category. And this is how it throws, say, these many apps falls under this group between the rating of say 2.6 to 5. These many apps are rated between this range. Which are the most, this is another bar graph, next one. If you notice the difference between Plotly and the histogram, you can make out. In the histogram, you don't get any hover over information or interactivity when you hover over. Whereas with the Plotly library, you will get the information when you hover over. And this is the bar graph. This is another a very good graph that gives you high level insight when you look at some analysis. Okay, here, Fine. When I look at this graph, that would help me know, okay, communication category is the one with the most number of installed, mobile app category and number of installs, and then social, games. It gives you in a high level information by looking at the graph. And here, basically, I wanted to know the most installed top 10 apps and their categories. When you sort the values of this data frame by using a number of installs column and arrange them in ascending order, and I want to filter out only for return only the 10 rows. That would give me this output. And for that, I want to view this. I want to view this information in a graphical format. That is this one. And mobile apps category and number of installs. And next, let's move on to the next chart. That is a pie chart. This is also another good graph that will help you to represent the information in terms of proportions. Basically, these pie chart, it can be applied for numerical columns to derive numerical proportions. And this is, I have provided additional informations if you want to read more on that. And I wanted to know how many are free apps and how many are paid apps in terms of graphical representation. So for that, I executed this statement and it gives me, okay, number of free apps are these many and number of paid apps are these many. And let's view that in a pie chart representation. So this is how it goes. Okay, 92.61% are free apps and 7.38% are paid apps. It's when you look at this graphical representation of the information you derived, it will give you, okay, it will give you a quick insight. Okay, 92% of them are free and 7.38% of them are paid. And next, another chart is count plot. Yeah. This is another very good graph, similar to bar graph, that will give you, I wanted to basically know, okay, each of these categories and how many count in each of this category, how many apps are present. It is same representation for this one, numerical value. I showed up here somewhere. Yeah, this one. For this one, for this information, this is the graphical representation. That is a count plot library, count plot graph. For the family category is the one with most installed apps and games and tools, etc. And word cloud is another technique to visualize, for instance, to visualize the frequently used frames or text in the data set. Especially they are quite useful for natural language processing NLP applications. And this in this data set, you can you will get a overview, okay, which is the most used category. Basically, the thing here is the larger the font size, its frequency is higher, its appearance is higher in the data set. And say art and designs and art on vehicles and comics, beauty, higher the size of the text, higher the frequency. And then which are the apps with highest average rating? So these are the apps and its respective category and its rating. And also I wanted to filter out its app size. So for example, family is the app category and the specific app is this one. Specific app is this one, and its rating is 5 rating. So I just filtered out only the 10 rows. I wanted to view the top 10 apps with highest rated. And then this is generating report. It is little bit next level from the beginner level of exploratory data analysis. So for this generating reports, sorry.
Sorry, Ramya, to interrupt. In the previous section that you just talked about, there was one outlier, right? It had rating of 19. So
right.
right there.
That's right.
Okay.
This one.
Yeah.
That's right. But you got to be very vigilant that, especially when you're taking these for machine learning, these kind of outliers or missing values, they have to be treated well enough. Otherwise, it makes a impact on values, what models can predict. So this is basically, I was doing predictive data analysis. So I did not think about treating this outlier, and only when this row is there. So it also makes sense to drop this row out. It doesn't make any much impact. And this is also very important in exploratory data analysis, that generating report, which requires this pandas profiling library. So I have, this is how you install. I have used the statement to install pandas profiling library using Jupyter Notebook. Otherwise, if you are using terminal or command prompt, you don't have to give these exclamation mark. And once I installed this library, it needs to be imported. And once you import it, I have imported the class called profile report to generate the report. You would call that class and pass in the data frame and the title you want it to be and exploratory true, so that it gives me the interactive feature I want to view. And once you execute that, you would get this high level view of the report. And also you can export it to the external file. This also shows which are the duplicate rows in the data set and the sample rows from the data set, and what are the missing values. Say, for example, app, this is the field, it has no missing values because number of the rows itself is this much number, and rating you can make out there are missing values in the this column. It also gives a very good way of knowing, okay, which are all the columns have got missing values. So it makes a lot easier to treat the missing values, especially for deep learning and machine learning models. And yeah, next, I want to save this report to the file in the form of HTML, so that it would help me to pass on to my team and who can use it for the next steps. When I say I use to_file method, and I want the file to be exported in this file name, it gets saved in the root directory, because I have stored in the same directory of the Jupyter Notebook that is in here. This is how it gives you the HTML access to the report. And for each column wise, it provides the high correlation, high cardinality information about each columns. And this is, you can say it as a metadata about data set. Say it says number of variables, nothing but number of columns, because I dropped genres. So number of variables, that is fields, is 12, and number of observations, nothing but number of rows, and missing cells, and missing cells in percentage for the overall data set, and how many are duplicate rows, and so on, and how many categorical columns and how many numerical columns. Yeah. I just missed the tab once again. Yeah. So after this generating file, yeah, you can pass it on to the team for next step. And from this data set, there is definitely a scope for further improvisations or further additions, anything to be added onto the project. Especially like if there are next set of questions, how many gross revenue was received for each app? can be computed for weekly or monthly wise based on the requirements. And another question can be analyzed: how many downloads were made for app or each category based on weekly or monthly wise. And further extensions can be done is, okay, you can do the web-based application for this exploratory data analysis using the Dash library that we can cover in next webinar or workshop maybe, but it's also adds quite a good value to the notebook, data analysis notebook. And for any time-based insights, especially for in this data set example, I showed last updated field, it has to be converted to datetime data type. If we are going to use column fields extensively for to answer and analyze for next set of requirements. Now, from this analysis, what are the inferences and summaries? These are what we learned from these data set by analyzing them from the above steps I performed. So basically, I learned about these analysis, understanding the fields and the data types, and which are the categories and respective apps with respect to their number of installs, and how many apps were free and paid, and which were the most used Android versions, and using Plotly interactive graph. Now we can know, okay, each category wise and each app and their number of installs, and number of highest rated apps and paid apps. And also we saw them how to represent in the graphical formats. And this is the summary. This is how you would present it to the team. Once you have done the analysis, you have to present it to the team. Okay, this is the analysis I have done, and these are the insights, and that would help us for the next step. Next, if you want to move to the next step, or you want to read more about the exploratory data analysis, these are the article you can go through. I can post it them in the chats if you are interested to know more about the data analysis with Python. And this is another article you can read about how we can do data analysis with database. Yeah, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. And this is another other few resources about each library. You can go through them. These presentation and notebook, I will pass it on to, I will pass it on so that you will get information. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah, thank you, Ramya, for that presentation. Anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. I mean, so, I can kick off with one question. So you mentioned about Dash. I worked in Plotly before previously, but like, what is the difference between Plotly and Dash?
Plotly is basically a interactive data visualization library. You saw Seaborn and Matplotlib, right? When you say, for example, difference is when you hover over any of these libraries, you wouldn't get any information. They are static, basically.
Right.
Coming to Plotly, it is same thing for visualizing data, but it provides you the interactive feature.
Yeah.
When you hover over, you will get the information. Okay, here you can find out communication, and here it says 500 million. You will get when you it's basically interactive.
Right. And how about Dash?
Dash is a library. It gives you you can deploy the exploratory data analysis notebook to as an web application.
I see. Okay. So that's something that we could potentially leverage for what we are trying to do. As I explained earlier, Ramya, we are working on trying to understand from a data analytics standpoint the situation of homelessness here in Texas,
That's right.
and
That's
applying some of these machine learning models, you know, to see if we can combat the current situation.
Yeah, I'm trying to help you with that Dash application. I can show you here.
Yeah, you know, if you can briefly show us, that will be great. And in the meantime, anyone else has any questions, feel free to ask them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And if you are interested, I can post the quiz.
Oh, you have a quiz too? Okay, I didn't know we had a quiz. Excellent.
Yes, to keep it more interactive, and let's see if you have understood.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just a quick one. It's quite simple. But then I will get the link for Dash application.
Perfect.
Please feel free to answer the questions. It's quite simple. It shouldn't take, it's not that complicated here. You can make out.
So Ramya, will you be posting the link to this quiz somewhere?
Quiz, I think I posted. Did you?
Oh, you're already
did you
okay.
not?
Just checking my chat. Okay, there you go. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I just posted the link to the quiz.
Okay. So everyone, please take the next couple of minutes to complete the quiz. So do you want to take a, you know, so do you want us to take it now, Ramya, or after the call?
Anything is fine. It doesn't take much time. It's just, you know, thing. Yeah.
Okay. So let's do it now in the next 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, sure. Definitely. Yeah. Just, it takes a while to load because sometimes, one second, I'm trying to get the URL. And when you're ready, I will walk through this one.
Okay, I just put a timer for 3 more minutes. So once the alarm goes off, then we'll stop.
Yeah. That's good. Thank you. Just a good way of knowing who it's totally anonymous, so it doesn't say who answered what. It just gives, yeah. If there are any, yeah, I will explain it.
Okay, 45 seconds left. So do we have a scoring system, Ramya, for everyone? Or?
Not individually,
Got
overall, yeah.
it. Okay, 30 seconds. Looks like there are 17 participants in this. So
Okay.
16 excluding you, Ramya. So we should have at least 16 answers, everyone. Or 16 responses, I should say. Okay, 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yay, here is the final one. Okay.
Okay, excellent.
10 responses, that's good.
Okay.
Actually, this is only descriptive analysis and diagnostic analysis. And okay. 2 numeric method returns which data type by default. It's a float. Yeah. That's good. So it was attentive workshop.
Yeah, looks like it.
Basically, the library I used to fetch data set from Kaggle, it's not standard library. It's you have to install it. This is basically if you want to show the graphs within the same notebook, then you would use this statement. By default, head method displays top 5 rows. It's Plotly, that's right. This is the interactive plotting graph. Yeah. Pandas profiling is the reporting library. Yeah, that's nice. And coming to the Dash library, this is for one of the local chapters I did through Omdina for this application to analyze socio and economic analysis in India due to COVID-19. This is the application I did for the exploratory data analysis we did as a teamwork. And this Dash library, basically it gives the feature to create a web application for the exploratory data analysis that provides more interactivity to the data analysis in terms of presentation, it could be, and things like that. And especially with the graphs, you can see that these are all basically for every graph here I implemented in Plotly. And this is how it gives interactive feature when you use Plotly. Okay, for example, Sudan, when I hover over, it lets me know which field and what is the value. And yeah, this is the sample data sets and from where this is the source of the data set. And these are all the graphs here I have used Plotly. And here for line graph, most of all the graphs are available within the Dash library as well. And this is this kind of interactive maps you can do with Dash. And next economic analysis page. For these things we did, and yeah, it lets you, these are all Plotly graphs and insights and GDP trends and insights. These are all interactive graphs. Just yeah,
Yeah, this is amazing. We might want to do something like this as we describe the situation here about homelessness as well after 4 weeks. But this is really good. So maybe we'll bring you back on another call for a follow-on workshop for
Sure.
Dash and how to implement it. So if anyone has any questions, we just have 5 more minutes left. This is a good time to ask any questions or get any clarifications. And I just posted Ramya's LinkedIn profile link on the chat window for those of you that want to connect. But she's an amazing resource if you want to connect with her. If you want to write something technical on any of the projects you're working on, it's a great opportunity to work with her. So I guess, if there's any questions we can ask. If not, then we can end the call.
Yeah, the notebooks and the presentation, I will pass it on to Kaushik, and you will get them for reference.
Hey, thanks, Ramya. I just wanted to clarify something. Thanks for sharing the Dash app as well. That was completely new for me. So I was just thinking through the pipeline project, and we end up with a web app at the end for this project. And I was just trying to see if Dash is something that can be built into the pipeline and then connected to the web app, or how is this going to work? I was just trying to see the whole pipeline from the EDA onwards.
Yeah, definitely. When you have done EDA and the graphs you have done, and you know what content you want to present it, so that you can translate that into web app using Dash library.
Okay, great, thanks.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thanks, Ramya.
Yeah, cool. So, I mean, as I mentioned, we could potentially have another workshop in the next week or two. So we can discuss what we have put together so far for this project for Texas, and then we can get some suggestions and advice and see how we can make it even better. Okay, cool. Thank you, Ramya. Really appreciate you taking time today. It was a wonderful presentation. I have recorded it, and I'll send everyone the link after this call.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, and have a good weekend. Take care and bye for now.
Thank you, Ram. Bye-bye.
Thank you.